All right. Well, perfect. I appreciate everyone for jumping on and spending some time with eCapital Advisors to learn a little bit more about Workday and adaptive planning and how it impacts the manufacturing space and some great use cases. So, before we kick off, I do just want to walk through an agenda today. So things that we'll cover, we will get ourselves introduced, give you a little background on eCapital, the adaptive planning platform, and then from there, take it into manufacturing and show you hopefully about a 25-30 minute demo of the tool. So just for everyone's knowledge, my name is Steve Adam. I'm an account executive here at eCapital Advisors. I have been in this space for about 6 years. So working with a handful of different industries, looking at the different impacts that a tool like Adaptive can make. But just as a personal touch, this is a little bit about myself. This is my family, my wife, Mickey, and my son, Miles, who just turned a year old. And as we're getting reintroduced and navigating the new world, spending a lot of time outside. We also will be joined by Hosai Garwal. She is a consultant here at eCapital Advisors. She will walk us through the demo. If there are any specific questions, please put them in the chat and we will do what we can to get those answered for you. But in her previous roles, she's been in this space for about 10 years, as mentioned, but actually has done some hands-on and worked with Adaptive in a previous role as well. So really appreciate the time today. eCapital Advisors, who we are and what we do. We are a platinum partner for the Workday Adaptive platform. We've been a platinum partner for a couple of years now, but for us, we've been in this space for about 20 years. Our goal is always to help our customers make better business decisions based off of their data. We like to consider ourselves problem solvers and look at what types of tools are in the market to help you. So this is just a NASCAR slide, but right, the manufacturing space, when we talk about demand planning, supply chain planning, inventory planning, really the bread and butter for a lot of these organizations. So I just wanted to highlight kind of what we've been doing. We will talk about a couple of case studies or examples of what we've done in the past as well as we get through the demo. Workday Adaptive Planning, for those who aren't familiar with the tool, this is going to be a quick introduction, but looking at just some company highlights, right? They're a $4.3 billion organization. After the acquisition a couple of years ago, we've really seen a lot of growth in that space. They're number one in the Fortune Future 50. And one of the things that I like to highlight is it's a top 5 company to work for. So I always like to talk about how the connection between having great customers and great employees really is like-minded. So the overall tool, there's over 5,400 customers that are on the adaptive planning platform. It's one of the highest rated tools on the market, an industry leader, and really great technology supporting. So it's an end-to-end platform, which is a little different from what you see in some of the market. It might be, hey, this is Excel and it sits on top of a database, but this is your true end-to-end solution. So some of the functionality that you get with a tool like Adaptive, which will change the way that you run your business today, it's going to be the self-service exploratory analytics piece. You're going to be able to, within a few clicks, kind of get that bottom line number. You're going to be able to check out just different impacts that some changes on your plan or forecast might be making. We will highlight that today, and especially around the revenue planning. So as we dive through today, just make sure that, if there are questions, again, reiterate those, make sure that we're able to answer those, and we can also do a follow-up meeting as well. But what you're going to see, fast deployment, our average project is about 6.5 weeks. Kind of get up and running just with your base financials in about 4.5 weeks. But you're going to have business agility that you probably haven't had in Excel today. And what I love about this platform is about 50% of their customers are in the 1 to 300 employees, and then another 40% from that 301 to 3,000 employees. So when we talk about the ability to scale with the tool, Adaptive can take you to the next level and above and beyond. So what I did want to do is just highlight some of the things that are happening in manufacturing today. So just based on coming out of COVID, what are some of our expectations? I think it's critical that what we're looking at is how to recoup lost revenue. So having a planning tool that can help assist on where are some changes that we can make within our business and take it to the next level. A lot of industry specific to manufacturing, how can we expand our business line to services, right? And then how do we plan for services and things along those lines? Are we going to start selling additional parts or pieces to really recoup what that lost revenue may be? 83% of CFOs on a recent survey said that they are looking at about a 1 year to rebound post-COVID. So we're already looking at 2022. Are we doing some long-range planning? And product demand has only increased. So we've seen that, I think, is expected to be about 50% roughly through 2021. So being able to leverage that, there are things that impact your business, whether it's logistics, whether it's being able to get the right product, right? In the housing market, we're seeing an increase of just lumber prices by 300%. So how do those things impact our business? You want a tool that's strong and flexible around your financial planning. How do we have additional plans impact our business, right? So as we talk about going beyond finance, the transformation of what we're calling the XP&A, so beyond that FP&A, but getting operations involved, getting supply chain involved. You're seeing sales. We're trying to get R&D more involved so that we have a better business overview and how to really attack coming back from this 2020 and really being a game changer. So when we talk about beyond finance, what does that mean and what are we going to show today? We'll dive into supply chain planning, some inventory and demand planning, sales planning, and at the end of the day, right, getting a detailed revenue plan so that we can go in and see what those changes can make to really impact our top line and our bottom line planning. So without further ado, I am going to pass it over to Hosai and have her share a little bit on the agenda, and then she will jump in.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. As Steve mentioned, Hosai Garwal here. I am located here in Minneapolis, and thank you for joining us here today and for your time. As far as the agenda goes, we will start in dashboards. I will show you interactive dashboards, how you can use them to drill through. They're not just visuals of your data, but really anyone within your organization, very self-serve, can use adaptive planning dashboards to drill through to bottom level of detail. We'll spin up a new scenario, walk through scenario planning, make some adjustments to revenue and use some drivers, making some adjustments to our demand here that I have prepared in an example, and then kind of switch hats and look at it from more of a supply and production perspective, and then view our changes via some reporting. We'll take a look at our web-based reporting and then also our Office Connect, which is the Microsoft Office, integrates with Microsoft Office within PowerPoint and Word. And I'll show you that functionality as well. So with that, I will take over the share. And it looks good on my end. So please let me know once you can see my screen.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure you guys can all see my screen. And feel free as I go through the demo here to put your questions into the chat box. We will be addressing them at the very end and get to all of your questions. So I have logged in right before our scheduled time here. It's 100% cloud-based. You can log in from anywhere on the web, on any type of device. It will always automatically resize to the size of screen that you're using. Upon login, I'm presented with dashboards really fully customizable to what you want to see immediately when you log in. Does not have to be dashboards, could be an announcement page, could be one of your planning sheets, wherever you work the most often, you can have that be set as your home page right away when you log in. So before we take too far of a deep dive here into dashboards, I want to just take a minute or two to get you all acclimated to the screen that you're looking at. In the top right-hand corner here is your version toggle available to you, where you can easily navigate between your unlimited number of scenarios or versions at any point in time on dashboards, your planning sheets, assumption sheets, all this in the top right-hand corner here. We are on our working budget, and that's where we're going to stay here for a few minutes. And then later on, as I said, we will spin up a new scenario and use that to make some adjustments in our demand plan. Then on our left-hand side, under the W Workday icon, this is your access to the navigation menu. Just a quick rundown and highlight on a few of the items that we're seeing here. We have sheets and assumptions. Really, these two areas kind of make up the planning of adaptive, where the detailed planning is done at the detailed granular level, gets pushed into your P&L, balance sheets, and cash flow, as well as using your assumptions and drivers. We have reports and dashboards. This is basically the output of your planning, and we'll touch on both of these as we go through our demo here. And the last few items here, your processes, workflow, formulas, modeling, administration, and integration. These are all available to your admin users who are more your power users. They have access to and have full security to the models that you can create here within Workday Adaptive Planning. So, with that, let's take a look at dashboards. Really, dashboards are a variety of visuals that you can create based on the data that you can bring in here. You're not just limited to your GL type of data, but just to give you kind of a taste of the art of the possible, of the types of dashboards that I have created here in my model that are important to me that I'm tracking. I have donut charts, gauges, different KPIs and metrics that I am tracking here, such as EBITDA, production, average win size, my gross margins. I have a traditional line column chart, as well as a scorecard here at the bottom. So just a variety of different visuals that are available here for you to create based on your data. These gray tabs here in the top section, I call these perspectives within my company summary dashboard. Unlimited number of perspectives you're able to create in here. Again, connecting to different types of sources, not just your GL data. You can bring in your CRM data, create your metrics around that data that you can then use to drill through and find more underlying detail. Perhaps you want to create specific dashboards or widgets around your sales data for your sales leaders when they come in here based on security. Upon their login and they're using their credentials, they will see data that is relevant just to them. I also have a production perspective here where I'm tracking my production trend, have a scorecard, tracking different metrics such as my availability, downtime, and all my rejects by products within my production perspective. Let's go back up to our front summary tab here. In our top blue ribbon here are our dimensions. In my example, I have 3, but Workday Adaptive Planning, you can have an unlimited number of dimensions that you can bring in here and create to slice and dice your data on. We have time in our blue ribbon here, level, and currency. Level really here, I want to highlight this is also your first place of security. This is your organizational hierarchy. Depending on how you decide to organize that hierarchy, be it by cost center, profit center, geographically, however that is done for you today in your businesses, is what this will look like for you. As you can see, I'm navigating down my hierarchy here. I can choose a different location here. I'm looking at my Canada operations. All my widgets and dashboards have now updated to represent everything in my Canada location, and is also immediately translated into my Canadian dollars. And we can easily switch this over, still looking at our Canada operations, but in our US USD. So currency translations is all taken care here for us by holding a table in the background with all the translations. Let's hop back up to our total company. As I mentioned earlier, these widgets are not just visuals that we can look at. They're not static. We can actually use them to drill through. So to walk through an example, imagine your executives today who frequently have questions on the fly and they are looking for answers quickly to be able to make business decisions faster. With their viewing licenses, they can come in here very self-serve and get their questions answered on the fly immediately with the click of a few buttons. So let's imagine I'm an executive here. I'm looking at net product revenue of $8.5 million for the month of March, and I want to learn more about which are my products that are the most driving of the 8.5, just a click within the widget will open up all your dimensions that are available to you here in your model. These are just my dimensions that we have built out here as an example. I'm interested to see which is the most driving product. It's starting with product A1 all the way through C4. I'm going to keep asking some more questions as I'm interested by customer, who is the most purchasing customer. In this example, it's customer 1 followed by 8, 4, and so on. Now I can keep going and keep asking those questions, or we can also get into this explore data functionality. That allows us to really understand that data point above and beyond just the dimensionality that we just drilled through, where we can see the formula that's being used to calculate the data point, as well as this sheet where we're doing the planning for that 329,000. I'm going to pull this up here quickly just to show you as an executive, we can drill through to something that looks almost like an Excel sheet where we can see that 329,000 data point. And now we can analyze it by all of its dimensions and attributes. We can see if there's perhaps a discount applied to it. We can see the volumes all the way down to this net revenue here in row 9. So going back up to our dashboards here, the highlight I like to make here on these dashboards, very self-serve, drill through capability to bottom level of detail, really with just a few clicks. Now, just 2 last things to mention on dashboards that I find powerful and very useful too. On the top right-hand corner, you can at any point in time take these into presentation mode without having to copy and paste these into PowerPoint, if you will, and directly interact with them live in your leadership meetings, as well as schedule snapshots. You can schedule snapshots of any of these dashboards on a specific frequency to specific users within your organization without you having to come in here manually all the time and send them out. So with that, I like to kind of take our focus over now to our scenario planning. Before we go into scenario planning, one thing I like to do is spin up a new version with you, show you how easily that is done here within Adaptive, and then compare those 2 versions, apply a high-level change to our demand and some drivers, and then compare those 2 versions right next to each other. So with that, let's navigate over to our versioning screen within our model management. Now, as I pull this versioning screen up here on my left-hand side here, I have a handful of versions that I have created. You can have an unlimited number of active versions within Adaptive Planning without any impact to the performance of your plan. So let's go through a scenario and copy our working budget and run through what would happen to our bottom lines if we increase price and volume. We're going to call this version our what if. Really, you can call it anything, but if you think of your annual budgets and you're going through several iterations of your annual budgets, the number of versions you create of it until you get to that final version, it's very easily done here within Adaptive. So I'm taking a copy of that working budget. I'm going to name it our what if version. And we are copying that original budget that we started with. And upon save, it's taking a carbon copy and it's going to be ready for us to go and interact with and apply those high-level adjustments. So I have chosen to put it right here underneath my working budget. There's a folder structure available to you here. You can organize it in any way you like for all your unlimited number of versions. So now that we're ready to go, we have our version. Let's take our focus over to planning for our demand. Now, planning for our demand, there are 2 ways we can do that. One way I like to share with you is via interactive dashboards, again, or we can do it via your sheets. So as mentioned earlier, planning is really done here within sheets. And I have a product revenue sheet where I'm doing some detailed demand planning for all of my individual products. Via our interactive dashboards, you can see I have brought in the product revenue sheets because I also have the ability to see my widgets change immediately as I'm using my sheets within my dashboards to make adjustments. So let's take a look at our demand plan here. I'm going to enlarge this so you can see it a little bit better on your end. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to navigate over to our what if version. And one thing within Workday Adaptive Planning, when we're doing an input, we have to be at the bottom level. So as you see, I just navigated down to a department level for our Sales North region. And let's take a look at our products here and see what they look like and apply a volume and our price increase here. In my top section here are my dimensions. This is the same sheet that we just drilled through on dashboards, but now we're making some inputs to it in this what if version. We're looking at this by customer one, by product, and we have some attributes such as size and color available here to us. You're not limited, as I mentioned earlier, to any of just these four dimensions and attributes, really unlimited number of dimensions and attributes that you're able to have. Perhaps you're not doing your planning by customer, perhaps it's by channel, really the unlimited number. However you're doing your planning by those dimensions, we can bring them in here in this top section. On our left-hand side here, we have our volume and our price, getting down to row 9 here for net revenue, followed by all of our costs that we're bringing into this detailed sheet, doing planning at this granular level, some variable costs all the way down to our gross profit margins, and holding some goals here that we want to view easily for product A1 at customer 1. So now that we have taken a look at what the sheet looks like, let's make some adjustments here. We have a white open input cell in January of 2021 for our volumes. We can simply come in here and type in a change. It turns blue. Anytime you make a change, it presents itself to you in blue, and upon save, it will turn black. So I have just made a change hovering around 200 units here for product A1, and this is just touching product A1. Perhaps you have thousands of products or SKU level, and you don't want to just make an adjustment at one specific product or SKU. We have the ability to pivot this very easily within these sheets. Let's take a look. This is just saying that you haven't saved your blue change. That's okay. We don't want to change it. We don't want to save it. We're going to pivot and take a look at all of our SKUs. Imagine if this was a row of thousands of SKUs, and we'll apply a change for FY 2021 by touching all of our SKUs. Right now we're at 16,098. Let's round this up by maybe 3,000. Let's round this up to 19. And we can break it back proportionally or evenly here in this example. It's going to keep that original value and spread back the difference to get to our 19,000 here for our FY 2021. And we're going to hit save. We're going to save this change. And let's pivot this back to the view that we had. We'll take our volume back over onto product A1. And let's just assume that, you know what, product A1 is our most sold product. I know we rounded up to 19,000 for all of our SKUs. Let's just give it one last touch on product A1. We're at 2163. We're going to round this up to 25. And we're going to break this back proportionally again, where we're keeping the original value, and we'll hit save. Let's minimize this. And we can already see by just making the volume changes, our yearly revenue target has changed from the 97% when we were in the red now to a green of 100% by just making those few volume changes. But you know what? We are also asked to increase price by 5%. Right now, we're looking at $96 for that product A1, which is our most sold product. And we're going to adjust that as well by using our driver sheet. And I have brought in my driver sheet as well to my interactive dashboards. And let's make that bigger so you can see it a little bit better on your end. And we'll make an adjustment here to product A1 for $96 by highlighting, and we'll apply that increase. Let's go with 5% since we've already hit that green mark and we are at 100%. So now we're at $100.80. We're still in that what if version. We're going to save our price increase. And while we're here on the sheet, just want to quickly highlight, I have price per unit on this driver sheet, but really you can have any types of drivers on these assumption sheets that you can hold and use anywhere in your model. I have material costs here as an example, some labor costs that I'm holding, overhead costs, and also some freight costs in my bottom section here. In my top product revenue sheet, now we have our volumes adjusted, and now we have price adjusted from the $96. We're looking at $100.80. Looks like that 5% increase did not take us over our 100% here in our widgets. So now that we have looked at our demand, we were tasked to increase volume and apply a price increase. We are done with our demand. We have looked at it, we have finalized, we're at 100% in this what if version. We like it. Now let's switch our hats and take a look at what this looks like from a supply perspective. So we can take this demand detail here and bring it into a production or inventory plan to take a look at if we are going to be at a shortfall based on the demand that we see in our forecast, or what if versions, or your rolling forecast, whatever the scenario may be. In this example here, we are in that what if version where we applied those adjustments. Now we're bringing in that demand in here onto this sheet, this planning sheet, where we're tying in our production to see what our supply looks like. In this example here, based on our production here of 5,000 units in Jan of 2020, and given the demand from our detailed sales plan, looks like we're going to be in a backlog situation here starting in January, actually resulting from the previous year that we're rolling forward and looking ahead into the future months. Looks like we are going to be in a backlog situation. So let's see what we can do to kind of narrow down that backlog by increasing our production. In my hierarchy, we're going to take a look at our production department. I have 5,000 units here in January of 2020 that I'm producing, and just looking at my forecast ahead or what if scenario here, it looks like I'm dropping here in my example, but we're able to produce 5,000 in 2020. Let's keep that 5,000 steady through the rest of the year to kind of help narrow that gap down on our backlog. So again, it turned blue. We're going to save our production change here. Let's go back up to our total company and see how much that helped with our backlog situation. Looks like we're still in a negative inventory or supply position here, where we need to increase our production even further, and then taking a look also from a capacity perspective to ensure that we have the right headcount to produce what we need from a production perspective. So I'm going to go back into our production department one last time. And let's apply an increase to all of our months here by at least another 20% to close that gap even further. looking towards the end of the year, looks like we have closed our gap quite significantly from our 25,000 shortfall here by December of 2020 to at least half of that. So the highlight here I like to make with these sheets is how they're interconnected, looking at your demand plan, taking it to the next level of your production to understand where we're going to be from a supply perspective and understanding if we're going to have a backlog situation, and then taking it to the next level from a capacity plan perspective. Here in December of 2020, we're going to need to be at 54.28 heads to produce that 6,000 units that are needed by the end of the year at the minimum. So with this, I like to navigate over into a reporting a little bit here and take a look at at our scenario planning and what that looks like in a variance report format. So from our Workday icon, one report that a lot of our clients like to see that we have built here is our What If Financial Statement report. It is a variance report, very powerful in comparing 3 different scenarios here against each other across your income statement, your balance sheet, and your cash flow, all in one page, one view, including some financial metrics. We also have the ability to bring in some operational metrics, all depending on the different metrics that are important to you that you want to bring in here to track on a report like this. Now, in this example, I have my FY 2020 actuals, I have a budget past one and a working budget. So earlier we spun up a new scenario, and let's take a look at what it looks like on a variance report and what that volume increase and that price increase that we applied to our demand did relate to our income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. So with the click of a few buttons, really, we spun up that version, applied our demand change. Now we have a variance report at our fingertips, and we can see the variance across those 3 main financial statements, and we can drill through from these reports to bottom level of detail. So on my left-hand side, I'm just expanding where we can slice and dice these reports really in any way we like to view them. Here, I'm down to my product revenue, 4110 for that revenue stream. Let's slice and dice this by our different hierarchies or departments, if you will. We can see our variance here. We applied it into our Sales North region. We also have the ability to have some impact columns where you can apply a flag, be it a green or red based on the threshold of your choosing of what the variance is, to kind of let the system tell you where the hot buttons are instead of you digging through a report that perhaps could turn out to be thousands of rows long. So slice and dice capability based on your dimensions in any way you want to see your reports, as well as the drill through capability that I shared with you earlier on dashboards. The Cell Explorer is also available to you here to use within reports. Again, keep drilling through and finding out more and more information and unpeeling that onion. If you're a financial analyst, or if you're in operations, or if you're an executive, really anyone, self-serve reports, drill through capabilities available here as well. A couple more things to mention here in the top right-hand corner. At any point in time, you have the ability to take these reports into Excel or PDF, directly print from here, go into edit mode. Perhaps you want to bring in another version in here and create additional variance columns. Very easy to do, drag and drop functionality. You can have as many versions or columns, if you will, on this report. Take a snapshot or do a save as, where you can save these reports into your personal folders or a shared folder, sharing with a group of users or individual users who you can just cherry pick from a list available to you. Now, last but not least, I like to walk through an example of our Office Connect. Before we go there, I want to make sure you understand that you have options with Workday Adaptive Planning as far as it relates to reporting. You can use these web-based reports, which is what we're looking at here, or we can use the Office Connect to create, I like to call them your pixel perfect reports. I used to create them a lot in my previous experience as working as a senior financial analyst, lots of board decks, month-end close decks, leadership team meeting decks. But the Office Connect really allows you to automate that process of those pixel perfect reports. So let me share an example of one that I have built for those pixel perfect reports again. So I have logged in to our Office Connect via linked cells. You can see all the data points directly coming out of Adaptive. So blue here, those are our data points. Green, these are all labels coming out of Adaptive. So the power of using this Office Connect to create these reports, really, it's one source of truth. The data is coming all from one place, but you get to use native Excel functionality. So everything you see here in column B, if you're an Excel lover and you want to create your pixel perfect reports in Excel, you can do that by leveraging Office Connect, using your data out of Adaptive, but using Excel for your formatting, for your formulas. So you can see up here, this is all Excel formulas. Now, to connect these, I'm going to walk you through a super quick example here. Taxes and benefits through other expense, you can see are not highlighted in blue. We're going to connect them by bringing in our task pane here. This is our structure in Adaptive. This will be your structure once established and created for you, connected to your ERPs. We're going to find our taxes and benefits accounts. You have the ability to search for them, or just like I'm navigating through. We'll highlight all of our accounts and drag and drop to create that connection. You can see it's just turned blue with the click of a button. There is really no coding in writing or creating these reports. It's I like to say it's a click, not code. You're selecting from a menu and you're dropping into your Excel, be it on the web or here within the Office Connect. The functionality is the same with the drag and drop ability. So now that we have connected, let's refresh this tab. I'm going to hide my task pane. You can see we've just brought in our data for those missing accounts. It's all connected. So if you have board decks today that you have established, and once you go through implementation, you do not have to start from scratch. We can take the current existing board decks that you have in Excel and create the connection just the exact same way we just did with this example here in rows 13 through 17. Now I'm going to walk you through how you can actually use these reports and automate the roll forward of the time frame here. We're looking at a 6-month trailing October 2020 through March of 2021. I'm going to ask you to keep your eyes on columns I, K, and M. Right now we have March in here, and earlier today, prior to our demo, I went in and brought in our actuals for April, and we're going to roll this report forward. So assume it's Friday afternoon and the books have just closed, and you are expected to have your pixel perfect board deck ready to go by Monday midday. You can use the Office Connect and roll your reports forward dynamically by selecting the next month that you have brought in your actuals. Now our report has been rolled forward and all my tabs have been refreshed and the data has been fetched out of Adaptive for the current existing month that I'm looking at. I'm gonna hop through just a couple of tabs here just to show you an example of what I have created here. Again, fully customizable to what you want to see. I have a metrics tab. We can do charting. Again, it's using Adaptive data out of Adaptive, but Excel functionality. If you have lots of waterfalls, I know those are very popular within finance. We can create waterfalls in Excel as well. I have a departmental P&L, all my different products, a sales P&L here, balance sheet, cash flow, just a variety of different reports that I have created here within the Office Connect. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the introduction, it integrates with PowerPoint and Word as well. I'm going to walk you through a quick example of what that looks like, connecting it to your PowerPoint. I know a lot of customers use PowerPoint for their pixel perfect presentations. Now this connects to that Excel. We're going to refresh and it's going to update automatically. Again, sometimes that refresh button, some customers like to call it your easy button. With your easy button, you can get your PowerPoints ready to go in a matter of seconds and refreshed, but all the updated data, charts, graphs are all ready to go without you having to spend time to tick and tie your data. You can now have more time available to you to spend on the storytelling, the variance commentary, and really digging into the data and being able to tell the story of what happened from a variance perspective. Right here in slide 8, we still have our linked cells on just to show you the connectivity. Again, I'm gonna take my linked cells off here in our Excel, go into our PowerPoint and refresh. Again, just to highlight the connectivity for the PowerPoint to our Excel, and then going into Adaptive where we're actually grabbing the data from. So with that, this is all I had prepared here, excuse me, to share with you from a scenario planning, demand planning perspective, and then taking it into our reporting and comparing those versions against each other really in a matter of a few minutes. You could be sitting in your meetings, kind of kicking the tires around what would happen if we apply an X% price increase. What is the impact to our net income, to our gross profit, to our margins, to our cash flow? You can see that immediately by just applying the change to those what if scenarios in your driver sheets, and then seeing it all the way down to reports like these Office Connect reports. So with that, I am going to hand it back over to Steve. If there are any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat.
Great. Thank you so much, Josiah. I appreciate you walking through. Yeah, I will give it just a quick minute and see if anyone has any questions. I do appreciate the time today as we wrap things up. I did see one question just come through in terms of how easy is it to actually use for people who aren't in finance or tech savvy. And I can just tackle that really quickly. But Adaptive is one of the highest rated tools in terms of just owning and operating it yourselves. It is built to be owned and operated by the Office of Finance and typical business users. So we can definitely dive in and show you. Josiah did mention the click not code. But definitely have the ability to. There's other functionality within the tool like process and workflow where you can set up kind of that user experience per individual user. So there is that security set up so that they have access to just what you want them to, right? So if we're talking about doing some supply chain planning, we might just have them get access to particular parts of the business so that they know exactly where they're going to be responsible for making those inputs and those changes to the budgets, the forecasts, the plans, etc. So if there aren't any other questions, I think we're good. If you do have any follow-up, please do feel free to reach out. We are happy to help and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you and have a great day.